How you doing, guys? Today we're going to try to breathe life back into my original brass kill switch. Early 1955 wheel horse seniors, early 1955 RJ35s would have this switch as the kill switch. It's a momentary kill switch. They're known as brass kill switch because they were made out of brass. One wire from whatever your ignition system is, and it was self-grounding, so you just would touch that and that would ground out your point system. My switch does not work. Some people can breathe life back into them by spraying a whole bunch of contact cleaner in there, depressing the switch, and then turning the cap piece of the switch, and that will kind of clean up the contacts and make it work. Mine, unfortunately, that would not work. I tried it, but it didn't work. If you look right here, you can see that the back of the switch itself is actually pushed out. It's at an angle. It's not straight with the back of the brass. And when you depress the switch itself, it's also angled. And what I believe is water got into the switch and then it froze and pushed the back out. Now I've been chiseling at this with my Dremel, because what I want to do is I want to try to get this composite black plastic piece out of the housing so I can essentially take the whole switch apart. If I have to make a new back and then re-solder some wires or something like that in there, I'll try it. But for right now, it's a dead switch, and I want to have a working switch. I do have a reproduction switch that I may use, but I'm going to try to get this one. I'm going to try to rebuild this one is basically what I'm saying. So let me go ahead. Let me continue to work on this back piece. Let's see if I can get this out without totally destroying everything. So I've been working at this, and you can see I got a good amount of it hogged out. I haven't reached the bottom. Actually, you know what? Let me turn this light on so you can see what's... I guess not. Let me try it like this. Actually, that might help me when I'm actually doing this. You can see I got this thing hogged down pretty good. Unfortunately, I did nick it a little bit, but nothing that I can't sand out. And I'm trying to save this screw-in contact. I'm going to try to save that as much as I can, but man, look at the mess. I'm going to keep working at this thing, but I didn't think it was going to go down that deep. I want to be real careful. The switch still works like spring-wise. I do not want to hit that spring. So I'm going to try hogging a little bit more out of there. And I'm going to start hogging out this other side, because I would like to try to just get this thing to come out of the housing itself. So that way, if there's ever a chance of putting it back together, I'll be able to figure that out. Okay, so you can see I have a lot of it hogged out. I took my channel locks and I just lightly gripped it, and I wanted to see if I could at least twist it or something. I'm sorry about the shaking light. My shop light is LED. I thought maybe I could twist it out or move it. This thing is rock solid. I ended up breaking a chunk off. I have it over there. So I'm going to continue digging at it. The switch itself still operates as it should. Doesn't work, obviously. But yeah, I'm just going to keep digging. Man, this stuff stinks. It's probably asbestos. Who the hell knows? But at this moment in time, we're going to continue grinding away. We're under a severe thunderstorm warning. Interesting, huh? We got some good wind, but I don't know if you can see this. Hopefully you can. I brought it outside because it's a little bit... Oh, I thought it was going to be better. But right there, as you can see, there's a hole. I was able to pop through this stuff. I thought I was digging to China, to be honest with you. I thought a little Chinese guy was going to jump up out of here. But you can see I got a little bit of a hole. And what I can see is the spring. That spring loads this switch tip. So I'm not going to go to the edge anymore because the spring looks like it's on the outer edge of the entire switch. I'm going to go ahead and eat out the center along these posts and see if I can get this thing to come out. I'm going to do it on both sides, but I just thought that was interesting. Just, let's see here. There it is. I just popped through. I got wicked lucky. Exploded view of a 1955 Wheelhorse Senior or RJ35 kill switch. We have the cap, then there's a spacer that goes inside the cap. What that does is provide a flat surface for the bridging contact to sit on the brass topper. The spring goes in next. That is up against the edges of the bridging contact. Then you have two poles, contact poles, which bridge once this contact touches the two of them and kills the engine. And then we have the black spacer, which holds everything together. And then we have the actual switch body itself, or the, I guess you would call the bezel, so to speak, that everything's encapsulated in. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to fix this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out what I'm going to use as the media in order to hold the poles in place. Basically replacing the black. And then I'm just going to go ahead and clean this all up. This is actually probably soldered in. I might try to get all this take all this plastic off. And I might heat that up with the soldering gun and see if I can pull this wire out, because I'm assuming it's probably threaded like this. And I believe this is a 440 because I ran a tap down that to clean it up. So if I can do that, then I could just have two screws in the back of the switch itself. All right, let me figure out what I want to do with this. I started off with my soldering iron, but that didn't get hot enough, so I just went ahead and got my MAP gas torch, and I just went boom boom with it real quick, and with a pair of wire dikes I was able to pull the little piece of wire that was soldered in out of the lug. Now I think this is a 440 tap, and I can't believe this. I'm able to just kind of gently twist this thing to get the solder out of the threads. So I'm going to be able to save this lug also, or at least I have the appearance that I'm going to be able to. I went into my stock and pulled this old RJ35 kill switch bezel out. I had gotten this on an RJ35, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years ago, minimum. Essentially, somebody had gutted one of the switches, just like I did, and put like a modern push button switch in it. But it was totally incorrect. The other thing they did too is they added all this solder to the side of the bezel itself, and I'm just filing it off because I think I'm gonna use this bezel. This is the original bezel to my my Senior, but as you can see, it's in pretty rough shape. It's also kind of bent and twisted. Interesting enough, the RJ35s had like sheet metal screws that held their bezels in place, but with the fiberglass hood, at least on mine, it was pop riveted into place. Now I don't believe I'm going to pop rivet mine in place. I think I'm going to just put a little nuts and bolts, or screws and nuts. There we go. Sorry, to hold it in place, because if I ever want to get it out, I can get it out. I'm going to go ahead and continue filing this down and getting this all cleaned up. And I'm going to make my decision as to whether or not I want to use this bezel or the original bezel. I am going to use this bezel. I'm not going to use the original. This one here is in real nice shape, and now that I've cleaned it all up on the inside, the actual inside's even better. The nubs that hold everything in place are perfect. I'm not going to clean the outside. I'm going to leave that patinaed up, and I'll just take all the guts from the original switch right there and the original cap, and I will put it into this bezel. All right, I'm going to go and hunt around for material to use as the filler or the backer. while I'm figuring out what material I want to use for the backer of the switch, I went ahead and started to polish up the contacts. Also, I wanted to start to figure out what size drill bits I'm going to need. In other words, I need a drill bit that'll go from point to point on the hex head top of the contact, and I need a little drill bit for the round portion. So I went ahead and measured those up, and I actually have two drill bits that are just a couple thousandths smaller each of these contact lugs. So my hope is I can press fit these into whatever material I'm going to use. Now I'm going to use like a piece of fiberboard or some sort of plastic plastic rod. It's 3/4 of an inch from this edge to that edge. Then you have these little lugs, or these little impressions. There's 3 of them, which actually holds everything in place. So I'm hoping, and they're just a hair under 3/4. So I'm hoping that I can just press fit the back into the switch itself and not like glue the crap out of it. I may have to put some glue in there. I don't know. That's how they had it, obviously. Whatever backer they used became glued or fused to the lugs, number 1, and to the actual bezel. So I'm going to go to the hardware store, see what they have for some material. I may have to order it online, but yeah. So let's see what happens. Don't worry, we're not using wood as the material, but I wanted to see the fitment of these drill bits. So I got the bigger size, and when I put this in it has a nice firm feel to it. And actually, you can just tell that I have to actually use some. Yeah, see that's mint, a nice tight fit. And then when we go over to the smaller side, because I'll have to double drill it, that fits real good too. That one there fits a little. This one here is a little too tight. Oh no, there you go. Nice slip fit. So those 2 drill bits, those sizes are going to work for these lugs. Magnificent. In order to try to do this without spending $600, I said to myself, you know what? Let me see if I go to the hardware store and if there's anything I can use. And they had this plastic bushing. This plastic bushing is 3/4 of an inch outer diameter. It press fits beautifully into the back of the switch. So I said, oh, you know what? This is like 63 cents. I can just go home, get my fiberglass resin and some mat, chop it all up, fill this up, let it harden, and this piece I could just drill for the lugs and press fit it in. Well, what I learned is that the fiberglass resin doesn't stick to the inside of this plastic. But that got me thinking, wait a minute, that's even better. If I went to the hardware store and bought a bigger one, I could bore this out to 3/4 of an inch, being the correct size, and I can make one plug 3/4 of an inch, and this would theoretically press right in. So that's what I did. So I'm going to go ahead and make a mold out of this bushing and then make a 3/4 inch plug that we can machine to fit into the back of the switch. I got the mold made. That's just a hair, maybe a thousandth or 2 bigger than 3/4, because it's hard to get it perfect, but at least it's on the bigger side than the smaller side. I can always sand it down in order to fit. I minced up my fiberglass. So I'm just going to go ahead and put maybe 1 ounce to 2 ounces of of the resin and hardener together, and then I'm going to start pouring it in here, adding some fiberglass, mixing it around with the toothpicks to get all the air pockets out of it, and make sure that we got it good and packed in there. And then we'll let it harden up. If I have to get the heat gun just to kick it, I'll do that too. Okay, the plug came out pretty awesome. I had to put it in my dake press with a socket just to pop it out, but it popped right out. I hit it with some 80 grit sandpaper just to smooth the edges off. One side is okay, but this side came out mint. I think after I drill the holes and I lightly sand, I can polish this side of it and make it look mint. And how does it fit inside the switch? It fits in beautifully in one direction. Here it is. It goes right down to those, holding nubs. I mean, that looks pretty straight to, give that a little tweak. That looks pretty straight to me. The inside is mint. There's no light. The back side looks perfect. And then when I get one of the lugs, which is right here, and we hold it in the direct, I don't know if I can show, but that is absolutely perfect. The contact lug sticks up just a hair from my plug. So I'm going to be able to just go ahead and press that right in. Whoops, my fingers are in the way. I can press that right in just like that. I think I'm going to go ahead and drill this before it fully sets up. And it becomes like a piece of concrete. So I'm going to go ahead and I think I'll drill it I'll probably drill it from the top down. I'm going to pilot hole, drill it, and then hopefully that lug will just press fit in. And this switch should be pretty good until I ordered some screws. So we'll get the screws and then we'll put it all together. But let me set this up in the drill press and let's get this thing drilled. In order to lay the holes for the contact lugs, I just used my template or the mold that I use. It's 1.5 inches, made a square, crisscross to find the center point, made a line, and then measured and eyeballed where the 2 screws should go. That looks pretty clean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this out because I have it taped to the cardboard. Cut this out in such a way that I can get it into the drill press and I can drill the 2 holes. The big thing is drilling them straight. So that way, straight up and down and right where these are. So visually from the back side of the switch, it looks good, as well as the side that's inside. The 2 lugs are pointing straight up and down. Wish me luck. And there it is. It's not perfect. You can see the holes aren't quite right. Now this is the side where the lug, this is the inside of the switch where the lugs will get touched. You can see right there's a slight little witness mark going down. I did test fit one of the lugs in the hole and it fit perfectly. This is the back side. This is what you'll see on the back of the switch, and I think those holes came out mint. So the lugs aren't like perfectly straight, but they're gonna work. The other thing too is the depth of the I guess the shoulder is 3/16 of an inch from the top of this. So we have one size that's the back side of the lug, and then the top side of the lug, which is hexed, is a little bit bigger, and that was 3/16 deep. So there's a slight little shoulder, and you can see it in there, where the lug will go down and sit on that shoulder, and the back of the lug, where the screw goes, is perfectly flush with the back of this plug. I'm going to go ahead, polish up the lugs, and get those pressed in, and I'll show you what those look like once that's done. As with most of my projects, there's last minute changes, and I've been grappling with, should I use the original bezel from my tractor, or should I use this one here, which is a little bit brighter. Obviously it hasn't been sitting out in the weather quite as much, but I've decided to go ahead and use the original bezel, so that way I can say it's mostly original, I guess. I don't know. I went ahead, took my Dremel with a little wire wheel, just cleaned up the inside, so that's all nice and clean. I went around the outside back edge. I took my switch was originally pop riveted into the hood. Now, was that original from day one factory? I don't know, but I do know that mine was pop riveted, and you could tell by the patina, those pop rivets have been there a heck of a long time. So I went ahead, took my little cutoff wheel on my Dremel, and I took this particular rivet out, which is right here, which is right there. I just cut the back off, and then I ground it down enough where it was smooth, but didn't hit the back of the switch, and then I just tapped it out with a punch. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to this rivet, get rid of that one, so that way I can mount it on. I can locate the holes and mount it on there. Once I do that, we'll get the lugs in, and we'll start fitting this switch back together. Not bad, not bad at all. I wasn't necessarily going to show this, but I got into it and I was like, you know what, I better show it so that way people know what I've done. If you look inside the bezel, there's like these little nubs. There's one there, and then there's a third one right there. And I'm assuming that those are the kind of like what bites the backing into the housing itself. Because the fiberglass appears to be harder than the original material, I'm going to take my Dremel with a little round off bit, and I'm just going to create a little tiny like relief trench right where those nubs are going to be. I'm not going to go crazy because I do want them to create friction, but there just appears to be a little bit too much friction, if you put it. So I'm going to go ahead and make those. One of the things I wanted to do is try to set up the depth. How far does that get pressed into the housing? I wanted to use my reproduction switch here. I want to use that spacing just as a guide. Will it end up being right there? I don't know. We'll see. Because we got to have the right amount of feel to the switch, right? I mean, we can't have it too little, but then again, we can't make it like, this thing goes all the way to the back. So I got to set the depth. But to help me aid that, I did make some little marks where the trenches are going to be. So that way when I put this all together and I slide it together, hopefully we can have some fairly good, actuation. But we'll do that to taste. Okay, I got the lugs pressed in. This is the inside. This is what you're going to see on the back, which is, I think, fairly clean. This is my little meter. We go old school around here. If you go like that, you can see that is wide open, so we got continuity. So let's go ahead and test this. Let's put one probe in the lug. Let's put one probe in the lug, right? I'm going to try to hold these together. And then we're going to take the contact, which is on the actual switch, and we'll touch them together. Boom. We've got continuity. So in theory, once this thing's all pressed together, it should work. Let me get this assembled. And there it is, a repaired RJ35 or Wheel Horse Senior brass kill switch. I got the little screws for it. I checked continuity through the screws. Everything is there. The feel and action of the switch, perfect. I couldn't have asked for that to be better. So if you have one of these switches and it's corroded inside, doesn't work, you could try that contact cleaner and spray it all in there and twist the actual switch piece to see if you can clean some of that corrosion off. But at the end of the day, this is how I suggest you fix it. Because now I know all the contacts are perfectly clean. Everything is, mint. The back reveal is perfect. Now, granted, it isn't self-grounded. In other words, I don't have the ground strap to the body like it was originally. I'll have to run a 2-wire system. In other words, this will go from the points. This will go to ground. That'll cause the points to ground out. But in general, it is ready to go. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you like these little fix-it videos where we try to save bits and pieces of wheel horse tractors, especially, a sought-after switch that could cost you a ridiculous amount of money. The prices people ask for these things are they're just insanity, because with a little bit of work and a little bit of patience, you can fix them. And this is better than any used one out there in the market right now. So hopefully this will give you some ideas on how to fix yours. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching again. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, until the next video, when we actually mount that hood, put this kill switch in for final assembly, you have a great day.